Your grandmother's telephone was bolted to the wall in the hall, and it belonged to the post office, not to her. She rented it, month after month, year after year, and it never once broke down. Today you own your phone outright, and you replace it every 2 or 3 years, whether it breaks or not. Something happened to the things that filled a British home. And by the time we reach number 8 on this list, you're going to hear about something so ordinary, so woven into the mornings of this country, that most people never once thought about it, and yet nothing has ever truly replaced it. These are 8 things every British home had in 1973, and the quiet story of why they changed forever. Number 1. The rented telephone in the hall. In 1973, you did not buy a telephone. You rented it from the General Post Office, which held the monopoly on every line in the land, and the handset sat on a little table in the drafty hall, deliberately uncomfortable, because a phone call cost money and was not for lingering. Most homes had one phone, and one only. It was heavy, it was usually black or gray, and it rang with a real bell that you could hear from the garden. What almost nobody remembers is the trim phone, the fashionable model you paid extra to rent, first shown by the Postmaster General in 1965. It warbled instead of rang, and its dial glowed green in the dark because it contained a tiny tube of radioactive tritium gas. Millions of British families slept beside a mildly radioactive telephone and thought nothing of it. When the monopoly ended and you were finally allowed to buy your own phone, the rented handset that lasted decades gave way to the one you replace every couple of years. The next thing lived in the kitchen, and on Mondays it took the whole room over. Number 2. The twin-tub washing machine. Monday was wash day, and in 1973, wash day meant wheeling the twin tub out from the wall and connecting it to the kitchen tap. It had 2 drums side by side. One washed, the other spun, and you lifted the scalding, sodden clothes from one to the other by hand, usually with a pair of wooden tongs, in a kitchen thick with steam. It was heavy work, and it took the best part of a morning. A mother stood over it, sleeves rolled, moving the wash from tub to tub, and the whole house smelled of hot cotton and soap powder. What everyone remembers is that the twin tub demanded your presence. You could not walk away from it. You filled it, watched it, drained it, refilled it, fed the clothes through, all by hand. The automatic machine that you loaded and left alone was coming, and when it arrived, it gave the British housewife her Monday mornings back. But something was lost too, a rhythm, a ritual, the hard and honest labor of it, the sense that wash day was a thing the family did rather than a thing a machine did, quietly in the corner. The twin tub was noisy, it was demanding, and it lasted for 20 years. The next thing woke you up, and it did it with a cup of tea. Number 3. The Teasmade. On the bedside table, beside the alarm clock, sat a small machine of chrome and cream plastic that made tea while you slept. The Goblin Teasmade, first sold under that name in 1936, and at the very height of its popularity in the early 1970s, when around 300,000 were sold in Britain every year. You filled the little kettle the night before, spooned the tea into the pot, set the alarm, and switched it on. In the morning, the element boiled the water, the steam pushed it through into the pot, and the alarm woke you to a fresh, hot cup of tea without your feet ever touching the cold bedroom floor. What almost nobody remembers now is that it was considered the height of comfort, a common and cherished wedding present, the thing that told you a household had a little money and a little modern sense. No British bed and breakfast was complete without one on the nightstand. Then the espresso machine arrived. Coffee culture took hold, and people slowly realized the Teasmade had only ever moved the work of making tea to the night before. The bedside servant that woke a generation with a warble and a wisp of steam quietly disappeared from the nation's bedrooms. The next thing was not an object at all. It was a habit, and it lived in a kitchen drawer. Number 4. Green Shield stamps. You got them at the grocer's and the petrol station, a small stamp for every so much you spent, and you licked them and stuck them into little books kept in the kitchen drawer. Richard Tompkins had brought the idea to Britain in 1958, borrowing it from an American scheme, and by 1973, the stamps were everywhere in this country. When you had filled enough books, you took them to the Green Shield redemption shop and swapped them for something from the catalog, a toaster, a clock, a set of glasses, a toy for the children. Families saved for months toward a single specific item. What almost nobody remembers is that in that very year, 1973, the Green Shield shops began quietly accepting cash as well as stamps and rebranded themselves under a new name taken from a Greek city. That name was Argos. The catalog shop you still know was born directly out of the stamp your grandmother licked at the kitchen table. As inflation bit and the supermarkets turned to plain low prices instead, the stamps lost their value, and by 1991, they were gone altogether. The drawer, where the half-filled books once lived, holds something else now. The next thing turned the tap water into a treat. Number 5. The SodaStream. On the kitchen counter stood the machine that promised to turn ordinary tap water into fizzy pop. And to a British child in the 1970s, it was very close to magic. The idea went all the way back to 1903 and a London gin distiller named Gilby. But the home machine took off in the 70s, and for a while, it felt as though every other kitchen had one. You screwed the bottle onto the machine, pressed the button, and the gas went in with a violent hiss and a shudder that made you jump every single time. Then you added the syrup, cola, or cream soda, or the lurid orange one, and you had made your own fizzy drink. What everyone remembers is that hiss, that alarming noise, and the pride of handing round drinks you had made yourself. It was a small piece of theater performed on the kitchen worktop. Cheap cans and big bottles of supermarket pop eventually made the whole thing feel like more trouble than it was worth, and the machine drifted to the back of the cupboard and then out of the house entirely. Before we go on, I want to ask you something. One of these things is not really an object in your memory. It is a person, your mother at the twin tub on a Monday morning, your grandmother licking the stamps at the table. Tell me in the comments which one just came to mind. I read every single one. The next thing hung on the wall and glowed. Number 6. The electric fire with the fake coals. Not every room had central heating in 1973, far from it, and in the front room, sitting in the old fireplace or standing proud against the wall, was the electric fire. 2 or 3 orange bars that burned your shins if you sat too close, and beneath them, in the better models, a set of plastic coals lit from below with a little flickering bulb and a spinning fan that threw a moving glow to imitate real flames. What everyone remembers is the ritual of the switch. 1 bar for a chill, 2 bars for a cold night, and the guilty knowledge that a second bar cost money. You dressed in front of it on winter mornings, turning like something on a spit, warm on one side and frozen on the other. The whole family gathered close to that small orange glow because the rest of the house was genuinely cold. Central heating spread through British homes, and the electric fire, with its pretend coals, became a thing of the past, though many of us still remember the smell of dust burning off the bars when it was first switched on each autumn. The next thing was hidden away, and it ruled the whole house. Number 7. The immersion heater. Somewhere in the airing cupboard, wrapped in a red quilted jacket, stood the hot water tank, and the immersion heater inside it was the most quietly powerful object in the house. There was a switch on the wall, and it was surrounded by rules. You did not leave the immersion on. You switched it on half an hour before a bath, and switched it off straight after, because leaving it on was, in the words of every British parent of the era, like burning money. What everyone remembers is the anxiety of it. the shouted question up the stairs, is the immersion on, and the small drama of a household budget measured in tanks of hot water. Baths were often shared or taken in strict succession to use the same hot tank, the water getting cooler and grayer as it went down the family. The combi boiler that gives endless hot water on demand did away with all of it: the switch, the waiting, the rationing, the red jacket in the cupboard. The last thing on this list arrived at your door before you were even awake. Number 8. The daily milk delivery. Before the sun was properly up, you heard it: the soft electric whine of the milk float and the clink of glass bottles on the doorstep. The milkman came every single day, left the pints of gold top and silver top on the step in all weathers, and knew every family on the round by name. What almost nobody thinks about now is how completely ordinary it was: milk in glass bottles that you rinsed and left out empty to be collected and used again, the foil tops that the blue tits learned to peck through for the cream, the little note left out for the milkman on a Friday with the week's money. It was the most dependable thing in British life. There, every morning, without fail. A small kindness, delivered in the dark. The supermarkets sold milk cheaper in plastic. The rounds dwindled, and the clink of the bottle on the step fell silent in street after street. 8 things. The rented phone in the hall that never broke. The twin tub that took over the kitchen. The Teasmade beside the bed. The green shield stamps in the drawer. The SodaStream on the counter. The electric fire you dressed in front of. The immersion heater nobody was allowed to leave on. The milk on the doorstep in the cold. None of them were remarkable at the time. They were simply there, the background of a British life being lived. We don't just remember the objects, we remember the life around them. Which of these was in your home? Which do you still miss? Tell me in the comments. One memory, one detail. Subscribe, because there is a great deal more of this country left to remember.